Most people think becoming wealthy is about earning more money. But after years of watching how financially successful people actually live, I realized something surprising. The people who build lasting wealth are not always the highest earners. They are simply better at controlling where their money goes. A person making $50,000 a year can quietly become financially secure, while someone earning $500,000 can still live stressed, trapped, and drowning in debt. Because wealth is not built by income alone. It is built by habits. And one of the most powerful systems I've ever come across is something called the 15-65-20 rule. It's simple, it's practical, and it can completely change the way you manage money. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how the rule works, why it matters, and how you can use it to manage your money like the top 1%. Let's start with the most important number, the first 15%. This is the percentage of your income that should immediately go to your future. Not later, not after bills, not after shopping. First, before anything else touches your money, because this 15% is what creates security. And security changes everything. Imagine waking up one morning and your car suddenly breaks down. Or maybe you receive an unexpected medical bill. Maybe your company announces layoffs. Most people panic in these moments because they are financially exposed. The emergency itself is stressful enough, but the real fear comes from not knowing how to pay for it. That's how people fall into debt spirals. One problem turns into three. A credit card gets maxed out. Interest starts building, and suddenly, a small setback becomes a financial disaster. That's why the first job of your 15% is building an emergency fund. Start small. Focus on saving 1 month of essential expenses, not luxury spending, not entertainment, just survival costs. Your rent, your groceries, transportation, utilities. The things you absolutely need to stay afloat. And once you reach 1 month, keep building until you have at least 3 to 6 months saved. That money becomes your financial shield. It gives you breathing room. It gives you confidence. It allows you to handle emergencies without destroying your future. And the peace that comes from knowing you can survive a difficult season is priceless. But the 15% has a second purpose too. And this is where wealth truly begins. Investing. Now, a lot of people hear the word investing and immediately feel intimidated. They think you need to be a financial genius, or rich, or lucky. But the truth is, investing is often much simpler than people think. And the biggest advantage isn't intelligence. It's time. Let me show you why. Imagine two people, Sarah and David. Sarah invests $10,000 at age 30. Then she leaves it alone. No extra contributions, nothing fancy. Her money simply grows at an average return year after year. By the time she reaches 50, that original investment has more than tripled. Now, look at David. David waits until 40 to start. He actually invests more money overall than Sarah. He contributes consistently every year. But even after putting in more cash, he still ends up with less money by age 50. Why? Because Sarah gave her money something David didn't. Time. That is the magic of compound interest. Your money starts earning returns. Then those returns begin earning returns too. And over enough years, the growth becomes explosive. At first, it looks slow, almost boring. But eventually, the curve starts rising faster and faster. And that is why starting early matters more than starting perfectly. Even small amounts invested consistently can become life-changing over time. So where should you begin? The easiest place is usually your workplace retirement account. Many employers will actually match part of your contribution, which means free money. If your company offers a match and you are not taking advantage of it, you are literally leaving money on the table. For example, If your employer matches up to 5% of your salary, every dollar you contribute instantly doubles up to that limit. Very few investments give you that kind of guaranteed return immediately. Then there are tax-advantaged investment accounts. Depending on where you live, these could be retirement accounts or investment savings accounts that allow your money to grow with major tax benefits. And those benefits matter, because taxes quietly eat away at wealth over time. The less money you lose to taxes, the more money stays invested and compounds. But here's the most important lesson. Keep investing simple. A lot of beginners lose money because they constantly chase trends. They try to pick winning stocks. They panic during market drops. They jump from one investment to another. Meanwhile, many wealthy investors follow a much simpler strategy. They invest consistently into low-cost index funds. These funds spread your money across hundreds of companies at once. Instead of gambling on one company succeeding, you own tiny pieces of many businesses. It's diversified, it's low stress, and historically, it has outperformed most people trying to beat the market themselves. The beauty of this strategy is that it removes emotion. You don't need to predict the future. You don't need to stare at stock charts all day. You simply invest regularly and let time do the heavy lifting. That's how real wealth is usually built. Slowly, quietly, consistently. Now let's move to the next part of the system, the 65%. This is the portion of your income dedicated to living expenses. Your housing, transportation, groceries, insurance, utilities. The essentials. And this is where most people lose control financially. Because lifestyle inflation is sneaky. The moment income increases, expenses usually rise with it. You get a raise, and suddenly, your apartment feels too small. You start earning more and decide you deserve a newer car, a more expensive phone, fancier restaurants, better clothes. And little by little, the extra money disappears. Not because you became wealthier, but because your lifestyle expanded. This is why so many high earners still feel broke. Their expenses rise as fast as their income, sometimes even faster. That's why the 65% rule matters so much. It creates boundaries. It forces you to avoid building a lifestyle that traps you. Because once your fixed expenses become too high, you lose flexibility. You become dependent on every paycheck. You can't save aggressively. You can't invest consistently. And worst of all, you lose freedom. Housing is usually the biggest expense for most people. Transportation comes next, which means these two areas often determine whether your finances stay healthy or become stressful. So instead of obsessing over cutting small pleasures like coffee, focus on the big categories first. Can you reduce your housing costs? Could you drive a reliable used car instead of financing an expensive one? Could you negotiate bills, use public transport more often? Find ways to lower recurring expenses? Because improving the large expenses creates far more impact than obsessing over tiny purchases. And notice something important. This system is not about living miserably. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about creating balance. You're simply making sure your lifestyle stays sustainable. That way, your future self doesn't suffer for your present decisions. Now, we arrive at the final 20%. And honestly, this part surprises people the most because this is your enjoyment category, your fun money. The money you spend without guilt. A lot of people think financial discipline means removing joy from life, but that mindset usually backfires. When people become too restrictive, they eventually snap. It's exactly like extreme dieting. If you deny yourself every pleasure, eventually the cravings become overwhelming. Then, one day, you binge. And the same thing happens financially. Someone spends months trying to be perfect, never enjoying anything, never relaxing, never rewarding themselves. Then, eventually, they get frustrated and overspend emotionally. That's why intentional enjoyment matters. Wealth is not supposed to make life feel empty. Money is a tool, and tools are meant to improve life. The goal is not to die with the biggest bank account possible. The goal is to create meaningful experiences while still building a secure future. That's why financially smart people actually plan for enjoyment. They travel, they celebrate milestones, they buy things they genuinely value, but they do it within limits. And because they planned for it, there's no guilt attached. This 20% can be used for hobbies, vacations, dining out, entertainment, personal growth, experiences with family and friends, the things that make life feel rich emotionally, not just financially. And, ironically, allowing yourself healthy enjoyment often improves discipline long-term. Because the system feels sustainable, you stop feeling deprived. You stop associating money management with suffering. Instead, you create a lifestyle you can actually maintain for years. And that is the real secret. Financial success is rarely about extreme decisions. It's about consistency. Small, smart actions repeated over and over again. The person who saves and invests steadily for 20 years usually beats the person constantly chasing shortcuts. And that's what makes the 15-65-20 rule so powerful. It's realistic. 15% builds your future. 65% supports your life. 20% allows you to enjoy the journey. Simple, balanced, sustainable. Now, obviously, your exact numbers may vary, depending on where you live and what season of life you're in. Maybe your expenses are temporarily higher. Maybe you're aggressively paying off debt. Maybe you're early in your career. That's okay. The point is not perfection. The point is awareness. Because once you intentionally tell your money where to go, your life starts changing. You stop reacting emotionally to every paycheck. You stop wondering where your money disappeared to. You gain clarity, control, and eventually freedom. Remember this. A high income without discipline creates stress. But even an average income, managed wisely over time, can create real wealth. Because financial freedom is less about how much you earn, and far more about how much you keep, grow, and protect. If you found this video valuable, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.